Hello, my name is Harsh Patel.
And my name is Pranjal Desai. Our CS341 project is making a chat application. So we're going to be creating a web application right now.
Okay, so why web apps? Well, initially we decided that we were just going to do JavaScript. But soon we realized that if you want to make anything important in web, you need multiple tools and different languages.
The first language we're going to talk about is HTML5. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It was conceived by the great Tim Berners-Lee while he was a contractor for CERN. As we all know, Tim Berners-Lee is the father of the World Wide Web. An interesting thing to know about HTML is the fact that it is not compiled by a compiler. Since it is a markup language, it just has some tags that tells the browser to render certain things on screen. Here's the how to include files. All you need to do in order to include files is use the script tags and give the HTML the links to the file. This line literally says, get the script in the file located at this path and put it here. Here's a code sample with an annotated picture, and it's going to show you what the output of this code would look like. All this code is doing is telling the browser to make a list with the value login and another list with the value email and password. The keyword class is not a traditional OOP class. It is just there to tag the list so that we can access it from different files or different parts of the code. So this tag right here with all these field names, class tags, so we can access the list that we created here from a different location. So you guys were probably wondering, why does it look like that? Well, you need CSS to make it look pretty. And Harsh over here is going to explain to you how CSS works.
Okay, so CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. In simple words, all it does is that it tells the browser to display the HTML code in a certain manner. It's kind of like HTML. It doesn't get compiled. All it is just a bunch of code that tells the browser to render something. Here's an example of the CSS code we wrote. This code produces this output. As you can see, the lists that were before had bullet points. This piece of code says that they don't have a style, so they don't have bullet points. It also says to change the font to Roboto and make the background purple and the color of the font white.
Next up is JavaScript. There are three important things you should know about JavaScript. The first one is it's dynamically type checked. Everything in JavaScript is an object, and it has very similar syntax to C. So here's an example of how you declare variables in JavaScript. You don't need any data types, which is a common feature for dynamic type check languages. Swift is one of them. As you can see here, you can create variable cars as a new array. Here's a simple way to declare a function call, and here's a way to call the functions. It's quite similar to C, so the learning curve is pretty low. Next up is jQuery.
Here's some background information about jQuery. jQuery is a JavaScript library which makes event handling easier and it makes animations easier. It does many other things too, but these are the two things we use for this demo. Here's a sample of the code that we wrote, and here's the output it produces. So let's first look at this line of code. This is the document.ready function. All it says is that only run the jQuery code after the file has been loaded. So it stops the jQuery to run before the file gets loaded. This line of code says add the class hide to the class chatroom. So find any element in your HTML that has the class of chatroom and add the class hide to it. The class hide was written in a CSS file. This line of code says for all list elements with the class fields, hide them. This line of code says that whenever the user clicks on an unordered list which contains a list with the class of title, perform a lambda expression that slides the list with the class of title down and slides the list with the class of fields up.
Next up is Firebase. Firebase is a cloud backend service. It's not a coding language like Link, but it's just a backend service. It's really effective for startups to build faster prototypes. Also, it's a real-time database system, so all your data gets updated almost at the same time and almost instantly. Here's the code sample of how we integrated Firebase and authentication using Firebase, and this is our final product that it produced. As you can see, the authentication was seamless and extremely fast. This line of code basically gets the handle to your Firebase account, which is online. This line of code gets the user email and password from the front end, and this piece of code calls the function authentication with password, or our Firebase handle. It sends it in the email and password that we received from the front. So either it comes back with error or data. Here's a demo of our app in action. As you can see, you can create a new account from this.
You must type in an email. So after creating the user account, you can log in. Firebase allows you to type in the wrong password, but the thing is it will send you an error, as you saw in the previous slide. So we say, oh, error, login failed. After you write the right password, you can move on to the chat room. Over here I can just write a message and then get a reply from the other side. Since Firebase is a real-time database, it's synchronous and seamless. All the apps have the same data at the same time.
Thanks for watching our demo. You can check out our project at nextmweb.com. It's up and running, and here's some of the references we used to make this project. Thank you.